Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in podcast land, I'm Tim C. Starr, your host for The Universe Between Your Ears. I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Mr. Gabi Misheyev.
Hello to everyone. Great to be here again. Thank you, team.
Thank you for showing up.
I appreciate that.
And I think we're going to have fun today, as always. We have an interesting guest by the name of Ana Levin. Ana is a coach and a healer and a lot of other things, and we've had a little bit of a discussion already, and I have a feeling for which way we're going to end up going with this one. But Ana, she has a business called Mosaic Healings, the art of bringing all the pieces of you together. She had an experience in 2014 while she was in a kundalini yoga class that awakened her to a life that was more familiar to her, but one that she felt she had forgotten. And we're going to let her explain to you exactly what that means. So I think I'm not going to jump into all of the pieces of your bio here, Ana. I'm going to we're going to let the story kind of come out. You got a master's degree in psychology, and you're certified as a coach. I was looking at your website this afternoon, and there's one or two things that I'm interested in following up with you on. But first of all, welcome. Say hello. Let the people know you're actually out there.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
So, we were introduced by a mutual friend, and she told me, "Oh, you got to talk to this girl. You're going to love her, and she's wonderful." And so far, you're living up to expectations.
I paid her to say that.
And I trust her, actually. She's Gabby and I had her on the show. This is Kathy Dale.
Oh, Kathy, yes.
And she and I hit it off tremendously well immediately when we met. And so I don't know where I'm going with this. Welcome to the show. It's good to see your smiling face.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what it is that you do, and maybe more importantly, how you came to be doing that.
Yes. So I am going to take you back, guys, to like the very beginning when I was born. So I was born already very sensitive, very much a feeler, and went through a lot of emotional loss as a young girl and in my childhood, even though I had amazing parents, and I'm not going to get into the whole story, but long story short, that's what caused me to put walls around my heart and make it wrong to feel so deeply. Everything, nature, animals, people, just have this love for the world that it was just at points overwhelming. So fast forward, I went into my head and I lived in my head for many years until that 2014, actually, incident in kundalini yoga that you were mentioning. And even though I tried to run away from my core, which is, and my strength, which is my sensitivity, by obtaining degrees and, getting jobs and doing the mundane thing, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I was hiding from myself. And that kundalini yoga class, in conjunction with many other intuitive points around that time, that started in 2013, actually, through meditation and just, following my intuition, really started to bring me back to myself. And that feeling that many of us get is like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm coming home. Mm-hmm. You know that feeling when you remove what doesn't belong and you're like, oh, I'm coming back home. I'm actually feeling who Ana actually is. And so when people say like, what do you do? Or it's hard for me because I'm a feeler. So nothing really satisfies me when I say, you know, well, I'm a life coach, which I am. I'm a certified professional coach, right? Or I'm a energy healer, but I'm a feeler. That's who I really am at my core. And so now that I am starting to do sessions, this whole year has been just getting out there and following my heart and trusting it, even though I battle with it all the time. The more I say yes to that, the more I get this feeling like, yes, I'm home. This is what I'm meant to do. And all I'm doing between you and I and the audience is channeling divine love. It's that simple. And I am most comfortable. I've always been most comfortable in the quietness, even though I'm a talker, I can talk. And just being quiet and loving and just holding that space. And just to be able to do that, it's an absolute gift.
I just felt your vibration. My heart started beating faster from what you were speaking.
Thank you.
I felt you were just so present in what you were saying. It also reminded me. Yesterday, my boy wanted me to watch, do a movie night with him, and we were just browsing on Netflix what to watch. And Netflix is great to these days. You like get the mouse pointer on the movie, and it starts previewing right away. You don't have to actually go and get the preview, right? Mm-hmm. And it was Shrek, and the segment that they started showing there was how Shrek and the donkey there are walking, and the donkey is asking, how would you describe yourself or whatever? Would you compare yourself to this animal or that animal? And Shrek says, no, we are like, I'm like an onion, and there are many layers to me, and I am a multi-layered being,
Yes, yes.
So you were saying you were removing layers and layers, and
yes.
I have a friend whose family name actually is Shrek.
Oh, that's great.
Great for us, probably not so much fun for her.
He should sue them. He should sue them and get the money.
That's right. Same spelling.
I
think so.
How dare you? Yeah.
But it's true, and I think that going back to that comment of we're multi-layer beings, I get that a lot about honoring, all of our layers and all of who we are. I often get the message that when we try to bypass, for example, all of us human beings, this is what I did, and I still do in a much lesser way, but I still do, trying to bypass our feelings, right? Because it's uncomfortable to feel, but we are here to feel. That's part of the human experience. So we can't reach the freedom that we seek if we don't feel. And that's the truth that I'm arriving to. I was telling Tim before we began, wait until that's being blown away again, but that's the truth that I'm swimming in right now. And honoring my human experience and embracing it, especially the challenging ones, especially the hurtful ones. It's, because it's easy to be happy if I get a new job or if it's my birthday. But what happens, for example, when we get divorced or a person that we know in our family dies or we are broke and we have no money just to support us? I mean, what happened in those situations? Mm-hmm. And so going back to how I am arriving here, and I will continue to walk, of course, I received a simple message 5 years ago. 5 years ago in August. It was August 1st. Super simple. Are you ready?
Ready.
It said to me, trust in the power of your heart. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I am continuing to dive deeper and deeper into that message because at the beginning, I almost wanted to dismiss it because it's so simple. And remember, I was in my head so much. It's like, this is simple. This is not like graduate work, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not like writing a 20-page thesis. Mm-hmm. But the more I feel like the more simple, the deeper, and I'm still trying to really go deeper and deeper into understanding what does it mean to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest to be completely transparent, that's why I'm talking to you guys today, because in the past, my head would have gotten in the way and say, no, I don't know enough. I don't have enough followers or experience or whatever it is. I'm not good enough to be having a conversation with two other people.
Or like, what do I have to say to all of them, right?
Yes.
What do I have to teach them? Or
yes,
but the idea here is we're not here to teach anybody, right?
That's right.
Let me ask you, what kind of, like, if you kind of could take it apart for us, trust in the power of my heart.
Yes.
You didn't say to my kind of inner being, or you didn't say like my intuition, for example. You said to the power of your heart, right?
Yes.
What meaning do you put in the power of your heart?
Yes. So far, what I get is that the heart has a wisdom that is different from the mind. What I get from my guidance is that the mind, we create with our mind, right? So we can create beliefs, but the heart has a wisdom that surpasses any other wisdom that we can acquire. And when we trust to tap into that wisdom, magic happens. Mm-hmm. Really. The challenging thing is that sometimes it doesn't look pleasant, or it doesn't look like we are going to arrive to that joy that we're seeking, that freedom that we're seeking. So let me tell you an example. I was talking to a friend of mine like 3 years ago, and she says, well, every time I trust in my heart, I get heartbroken. And I go into bad relationships and it doesn't happen for me. So how can I trust my heart? I cannot trust my heart. Great point, right? Mm-hmm. So I go back in my head, and for a second, I'm doubting of, you see, this message is crap. I cannot follow this message. It was fantastic. What an opportunity to dive deeper right into this message, because I know what I heard. And we all have those intuitive, hits that even though you cannot tell that to the other person that it happened for you, you know what happened. You know what you heard. And so I believe that the heart leads us to whatever it is that we need to experience in order for us to expand and grow. That's it. It's that simple. So the more awareness we can develop, the more we can grow, following our heart. So sometimes, unfortunately, that means having experiences that are so-called negative. Mm-hmm. And they're painful. They're very painful. I'm not minimizing them whatsoever. I went through, a difficult marriage. I always want to be very polite and very tactful how I talk about it. Because... Wait
until it's my turn. I'll change that right away.
And it's okay, because we go through all the stages. In counseling, they teach you, in psychology, they teach you the stages of grief and all that we're not going to get into, but it's not important. What's important is not to bypass any of those feelings. But what is really, really yummy is to get to the place where you can look back and pour so much love onto your wound that it's like it melts it away. And all you have is the experience, is the growth, and it's the love for yourself, the compassion for yourself and for the other human being, and we can tie this into the very prevalent issue of bullies and bullying, right? The bully and the bullied, it's the same. And it's a pattern that we are repeating, and it's not being interrupted because we're not aware. Where is it coming from? And we're very, quick to get defensive and aggressive and like, yeah, it's your fault, blah, 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 blah. And we're still not getting to the core. We're all children. We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. We all want to be validated. That's it. It's that simple. It is that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's probably the best explanation for people who already felt it, right? The people who know what you are referring to, because they already kind of have a affinity to that state, right? With that state. Before your awakening, right? Were you receiving kind of like your messages from your heart, but not listening to them?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? So there are people, myself included, not too much far in the past, who just completely shut it down.
Yes.
I wasn't listening to my heart. I was completely in my head. I mean, I was just mind, intellectual, analytical processing of anything. I was just processing data. Forget intuition. I was thinking that surely that's going to get you into trouble if I just followed some kind of feeling. That's irresponsible. Yes. I would say.
I want to jump in. I think what I see is that most people, at least in this society, I don't know, I was going to say in the world, but what do I know? But most people seem to be on, like, way on the feeling side or way on the in your head side.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And neither one can appreciate the value of the other one, and they obviously can't talk to each other. And, the trick is finding out first, I guess, that there's value from both sides, and then trying to integrate some of that other side into what
yeah. They can talk to each other, and the whole goal per se, and I don't like that word, but the desire is to actually have them work in harmony with each other. So I believe that we are all created perfectly imperfect for a reason, right? Everything about us human beings has a reason. It has a purpose. So it's not like, oh my gosh, let's just follow our hearts and screw the brain, or vice versa. How about like we are all of it, like the Shrek, right? The multi-layer. We are multi-layered. It's fascinating. It's beautiful. And the more we embrace all of who we are, can you imagine? It's just like, that just gives me goosebumps, because we would have a different experience of the world with each other and what we can do. So, and then another image that came to mind thinking about this was sometimes thinkers tend to minimize feelers, right? Or dismiss, right? It's not as intelligent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
We have great intellectual arguments to shut them down.
Yes.
They can't fight us. Yeah.
But this is the image that came to mind when I was thinking about that, because I did that with my degrees. That's why I got my master's and, with honors. And then when I finished, guess what, you guys? I was depressed to the point where, like, I grabbed the kids and we went to visit my parents for 2 months, because that was not the answer for me. That doesn't mean that somebody that is being called to justice is going to become an awesome kick-butt lawyer. That's awesome. So it's not one size fits all, but the image that came to me is like, for example, when we look at a mountain, do we think that the big boulder is the only important one, or all the other little rocks make the mountain?
Right.
But that's really how we look at the world, and we look at each other. We look at the big guy with the degrees and the money and blah, 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 like as the bomb. But everybody is necessary, and everybody is has the same honor and respect deserving, right, than everybody else. So
you were saying the world needs a revolution of bliss.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to use this with my daughter, because she's revolutionary.
Yes, I like the word revolution, because I'm a little, I'm a Leo, so I'm a little strong. But that came about when I was a teacher, looking at the kids and just observing and feeling my students and just saying, this world needs a revolution, a kindness revolution is what I was calling it back then.
Yeah.
And I would just always stop them. And I had like silly rules, like you can't say shut up in my classroom.
That's
You,
awesome.
you know, you
Mhm.
can't treat each other like that. You just cannot.
Yeah.
And so people knew that it's that simple. We all want to do good.
You were
That's what
teaching kids. You were teaching kids at school, or where were
Yes,
you teaching?
I started in pre-K3, and then I taught all the way in a middle school, and then I taught in high school for 5 years.
Oh my God! Really? That's great.
Yes, I loved it.
You drove some teenage
Yeah.
boys crazy, I'm sure.
I got some notes. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, there's a thought that's come to me a couple of times now while you guys have been talking, and I just feel like I got to spit this out.
Please.
But the one of the things that makes this whole arena of personal development, personal growth, spiritual growth, all these things continually interesting, at least for me, is that we aren't all the same, right? So there is no one answer. It's like if we're all onions, just like Shrek, and if you open an onion, no two onions are like those little cells inside there, little pieces of, they're not lined up, right? And no two, it's like snowflakes, no two of them are exactly the same. So there's no one size fits all remedy to any of the stuff that ails us. You know, and that's what makes this stuff interesting, is because there's a million different things that you can try, and some things are going to work and others aren't. And tomorrow, stuff that didn't work today might work tomorrow, and you know, things like that. And so there's a never-ending sort of buffet line of things that you can do, and it makes it interesting, keeps it interesting.
Yes. The one thing that I totally learned, I said it when I quit my job as a teacher. I should write a book titled "The Lessons I Learned as a Teacher."
Yeah.
Because I learned so many lessons. When you have 30-something human beings that are all different and they all learn differently, it really reinforces how the importance of tapping into each individual. And if we look at society, I watch the news sometimes because it's painful, but we're not listening to each other. What you guys are doing, this is what we need. We just need to have conversations where we come together, where we can validate each other, we can see each other, talk to each other, help each other, find our own truth. And we're going to find it by doing this, not by teaching or I'm better than you or whatever, right? And I think that's precious, and it's necessary.
Yeah, thanks. I part of the issue with doing this, though, is people have a hard time accepting that somebody else has a different opinion.
Yes.
Nothing more than that. We've come to a place today that, you can't say I'm not crazy about the shoes you're wearing without, potentially being sued or some stupid,
Yes.
it's just nuts now.
Why do you think that is?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons, but they're being taught to be hypersensitive.
Mm-hmm.
There's also one of the things that's been coming up a lot, partially, I don't know about for you, Gabby, but certainly in the stuff that I'm experiencing and reading and listening to and things, it's this, I'm trying to think of a way that I can say this really quickly and easily, but we have a really big addiction problem in this country, and it has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. It's technology. Mm-hmm. And it's literal addiction, because kids are walking around with this thing in their hand 24/7, just waiting for that next little shot of, oh, somebody sent me a message. Oh, somebody liked my thing. Oh, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? And it releases hormones into the bloodstream that are the same as stress hormones. And you get this little rush. And the problem is that if they stay in the system, then your body physically starts to break down. Mm-hmm. And that's a real problem. And kids they can't put the thing down. Right, Gabby, you experienced this.
Nobody people are starting to speak up about this for sure. You brought it up I think exactly around the time when many celebrities actually are coming, with messages, right? I recently actually had my kid watch a video about this, and I also started when we go, for example, to parks or different public places. I start drawing his attention to look around and see how many people are consumed by their electronic devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making this like visible and evident to him that, look, there's an amazing reality around us, far surpassing the virtual reality. Any virtual reality could fit into that screen, right?
Right.
And yet you guys are choosing this tunnel vision, and you are choosing to only see what some other people on the other side of this decided to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So and I'm telling him in simple words, right? As the words that a 13-year-old will understand. Don't you think that, these people kind of tricked you into following that little, like looking at the world through the little kind of keyhole,
mm-hmm.
right? Rather than just look all around. And why is that? Because, the conversation usually starts when he wants another $10 or $20 to buy another app, feature, whatever in his game, right? And then I do buy it, because I don't want to be like, okay, I have the money and that's why you're not getting it, and I have the power, right? No, but you know what? With that, you're going to get my point. Yeah. And so, you know what? And he started seeing this. And the other day, he pulled me and he said, hey, look, we were, I think, in the safari park. I was like, they're at the safari park, the animals, amazing.
Yeah.
And on that day, we were so lucky. In the safari park, they showcase animals, right? There's a front area there. And they showcase, and at that time it was a kangaroo. And we never saw a kangaroo so close, and it was so cute. And the way they jump, and adults were more excited than kids, I'm telling you, because many teenagers were on the phones and the adults were present, including me.
There's a video that I just saw on the internet. It's from a baseball game. It was a TV broadcast, and they focused in on this group of, looked like about 18, 19-year-old girls in the stands, and like out in the outfield, and there's 10 of them, 12 of them there. Every single one of them is on the phone, either alone or with the friend next to them, and they're all doing selfies and pictures of them eating a hot dog and drinking a Coke. And it was like it's 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Not a single one of them ever looked up to look around, see what's good. They're obviously not there. I don't know why they were there. They weren't there for the ball game.
Let's see how this plays out. It's interesting. But it might be a phase, So,
I don't know. It's because it's a real addiction.
Oh yeah.
It's not just people going, well, I'm going to do this for a while and get bored with it. They're physically addicted.
Yeah.
So,
was there any addiction in our age that we had similar to this in its intensity, other than?
I don't think so.
Weed, maybe? I don't know. What
it
other
was like
addiction?
drugs, right?
Yeah, it's a very different thing. But this is like having a food addiction.
Yeah.
Where people, you can't leave food alone. How are you going to leave technology alone?
Yeah. No, and it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So,
it's just going to get worse.
Yes, we need to learn. I think it's, again, going back to, like, for me, what's resonating, it's going back to having conversations. That's what I have. I have conversations with my kids all the time. I have a son who's into computer games, like, really a lot. And and that's also a big part of how they socialize, but then they're losing a little bit of the face-to-face. So it's tricky, and I think, again, going back to, like, tapping into, because you can't say, okay, you're not going to have anything. You're not gonna play games, because then you're marginalizing them from their social circle. So us as parents, we have to be very delicate on how do we do that.
No, it's balance. It's about balance.
Yes.
There's great benefit in that as well.
Yes, absolutely.
certainly there's stimulation, of the kind that I simply don't even have any access to.
Yes.
Certain neural connections are forming there for sure.
Yes.
Tell us about Mosaic. Actually,
the Mosaic. The Mosaic is actually a book. It all started. Let me show it to you. This is The Troublemaker. It's my husband's book. It's called The Mosaic, and it's a fable, and it's basically about how we are all connected. And it has more, but I don't want to talk about the book. But basically, I decided to, because I feel like I have pieces that make who Ana is. Mm-hmm. So then I named my business The Mosaic Healings, because
so that's great,
right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
totally.
It makes sense to me, because like there's different components that I bring that mm-hmm. make me and that I offer to the people. So
this was such a great way of like kind of sort of like doing an extension of what your husband is already
yes
doing. Is that a fictional book, or is that more of a I guess an exploration?
It's based largely on his life. He has had a very interesting life, but it's a fable also. It has a lot of components that is a part of the story. And it's the story of a little boy who loses his parents on the same day, 2 years apart from each other. And all the adults are telling the kid that his parents are in heaven. So he goes out into the road and tries to find heaven. And in that, he meets different characters, different ordinary characters, like a road worker, a bodyguard, a blind woman, artist, a Jews man. And they all, in their interaction and the conversations that they have together, they all teach him something. And so, which really, it's what you guys are doing. That's what you guys are doing with your podcast. It's a mosaic of different people, right? Yep. And that create each piece creates a beautiful mosaic of truth, because right? So you're looking for
great idea to frame it like that. So the boy is meeting characters and exploring this way, right? And the characters. That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna check this out for sure.
That's where that came from.
What's the boy's name?
Mo. M-O. Mo.
Oh, Mo as part of the mosaic, right?
That's right.
The Mo is taken from? Okay.
You got it. You're like one of the first people that say that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of obvious, right?
Yeah. Well, not for a lot of people. That's fun.
That's great.
So I want to ask about, from your coaching, but first I want to make a comment though, for anybody who's listening. One of the reasons you're not the first coach that we've spoken to, and you won't be the last. But one of the reasons that it still makes sense for us to bring in another coach is that not only do different people have, we've all got different, obviously, life experiences, and so we've got different perspectives on things. But we also, not everybody sees everything the same way, and what we're able to teach to somebody else is only what we know. Mm-hmm. Right? So if somebody is, let's say somebody's looking for a coach, and they just, I tend to think to try to keep in mind, I guess, somebody who's coming into the conversation or the ideas really as a clean slate. So what I want to say is that if somebody is looking for a coach, or just looking for somebody to follow what they are putting out there, follow their content, not everybody's going to be the same. So you want to find somebody who resonates with you.
Right.
Stuff that they say makes sense for you. It just, maybe you don't even know why, but it just sounds right. Mm-hmm. That's the person for you to follow. And so this is why this is part of the reason why we have so many of these conversations. And
Yes.
for us, there's a lot of repetition in different areas.
Yes. And you and I, Tim, we were talking about this prior to the podcast starting in another conversation. It's so important for people. I'm very passionate to help people feel what is it that your spirit needs at a specific time. There's like a gazillion coaches out there. That's why even the word coach kind of like makes me cringe, but there's no other way to describe. And I have 2 coaching certifications. But here's the thing.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.